that both of these things are true. Whether we see the glass as half full or half empty, we can be optimistic in both cases. In fact, it took me a really long time, but I'm now 18 years with my husband, and I'm realizing that when he says out loud the things that are, in my book, glass half empty, he's thinking about the glass half full, but he's wanting to preserve those things. So he pays attention to what might get in the way of having them. And I see that really as an optimistic viewpoint, even though sometimes all I can hear are the things that are no rather than yes. I, on the other hand, am always the yes, but people don't know that I've thought through the no. And so sometimes they can take that a little bit cynically. So it occurred to me to think a little bit deeper about this notion of optimism. And what I came to was that the principle of fear. When fear gets activated for me as a human being, I realize that old adage about, is it flight or freeze or fight, or is it flock? Actually, some of the studies that have been done about societies and communities when there is a famine or a drought or war, things that are really big calamities that have a big impact on the population in a particular area, one of the ways that it recovers is when people come together. They flock together for safety and rebuild. And it seems to me that's what we do too. A little bit like I was talking about yesterday, that when we're finding ourselves stuck, that one of the very best ways to get unstuck is to reach out and talk to someone. And it doesn't matter if you do that by text or WhatsApp or Facebook Live or phone, that's my preference, or if I'm really close by, I would like to go see people in person, of course, but we can't always do that. And many of us have friends strewn across the globe. So however you do it, get connected, because that's the way to lower the anxiety around the fear we experience when we're not feeling very optimistic about life. So if we're going to be the cause of optimism today, then one of the things that we might think about is, what do we replace the energy of fear with? In a lot of ways, all of our body is telling us that something isn't quite right when fear gets evoked. What we want to do is revoke it. And the question is, for me anyway, what's the solution I'm after? What is it I really want? And if I'm busy paying attention how to protect myself, I can't get to the part of me that might have an alternative response to the situation. So one of the big skills to learn is pause, and being able to kind of short circuit the habit we have in the face of feeling fearful. When we can short circuit, then we can practice the behavior of being still for a moment and say, what's the best part of me? What's the strength in me? What's the voice of possibility and hope in me? In other words, optimism. But the behavior is to be still for a moment so that we can ask ourselves those questions. And from that perspective, we have an opportunity to choose something else, which might, for some of us, simply be, okay, I cannot do anything about this. The wonderful serenity prayer comes to mind here. That's an act of optimism, as it helps us to unhook from the fear that has us in a habit response to protect in favor of activating an inner creative impulse that says, I want something different. I trust that I have capacity to create it. I've now paused and been still for a moment and realized, oh, I have an idea. I know what I could do. And actually what my husband and I do in that story I was telling you is we have a little practice we do where we let the little kids inside of us play. And sometimes I'll just stick my tongue out at him. You can't help but giggle. And the giggle breaks the fear pattern. It pauses for a moment the sense that something is risky or dangerous in some way. And it allows us to shift the energy and shift the conversation into something co-creative. That always brings optimism back into our interactions with each other. So there's a few practices for you. I wish for you to be the cause of optimism in your day today. And for now, until tomorrow, go out and be the cause of life on purpose for everyone in your life. Thanks for joining us.